What is the best lens to use with your gimbal? Now this is kind of a loaded question because a lot of people are going to have different preferences, but I'll tell you right now in this video what lens I use the most whenever I want cool landscape or tracking shots. But before we get right into that, I want to talk to you about Pon 5. For a lot of client work, there's always something that I shoot that needs extra polish. Whether it be sound effects or stock footage, I always need that extra edge to make the videos I produce better, which is why Pon 5 was created. Pon 5 is basically the Google of stock content, ranging from royalty-free music and sound effects to stock images and videos. They offer millions of different content that can be easily searched for by using their advanced search engine. If you like what you see on their site, make sure you go down below in the description box and click on that link for 20% off your order. You're gonna really love what you see. Alright, back to the video. If you've been following my channel for a while, you'll know that I love using gimbals. Gimbals stabilize all of my footage. They produce those beautiful tracking shots and those scenic landscape shots that I love to shoot. So what is my favorite companion to use with a gimbal? Well, it's the Zeiss 16-35 f4 lens. Why? Well, one, the price. The price range is pretty affordable for such a high quality lens. It ranges from about $1,200 on Amazon, but I'll leave a link to the updated price down below, so make sure you check that out. I've had this lens for over 6 years and it's performed flawlessly. On top of that, it's very durable, and because it's a Zeiss made lens, it will communicate with your Sony cameras seamlessly, so that way you get the best autofocus performance and the best communication from your lens to your camera. So you won't have any problems with your autofocus or changing exposure. This lens I used on a ton of client shoots, along with my Sigma 24-70 lens. But because this is a 16mm lens, you can get those super wide shots, and the other end of this lens, the 35mm, will get you those nice medium shots, which is a great range. 16-35 is all you really need if you want to create those scenic landscape shots. And even for some tracking shots, this lens will work too. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this is a Zeiss made lens, and because it communicates with your Sony camera, it has that optical image stabilization built inside, and it will actually sync with your imaging sensor on your camera and stabilize even better. So that's another perk of using this Zeiss 16-35. The overall weight of this lens is also very good. It's not too light where it feels cheap, and it's not too heavy where you can't use it on lighter gimbals such as the Zhiyun Crane M3. This is actually the newest gimbal I have in my arsenal, and I've been using this exact setup on that gimbal a lot, and I really love the results. And your biggest worry as a cinematographer or filmmaker is, how will this lens last you? Well, I've had this thing for 6 years, and besides a few scratches on the barrel of the lens, I don't have any dust, mildew, or mold on the inside. So you have really good sealed components on this lens, so you can bring this lens everywhere you go without having to worry about servicing it. And let's quickly talk about the overall picture quality. You have very minimal vignetting, even at the 16mm mark. It looks so good. I just love using this lens. And because it's a 16mm, even using this handheld will get you super smooth shots because it's such a wide angle lens. 16mm is perfect. Anything wider and you can start seeing some significant distortions on the edges of the frame. Now this lens is an f4, meaning that you're not gonna get the most shallow depth of field, but we're talking about a 16-35mm lens. Do you really need a shallow depth of field for those focal lengths? I don't think so. 24-70mm, that's a different story. But with this lens, f4 is absolutely perfect. But I know what you're gonna be asking. Do you really want the G Master version of this 16-35 lens? The answer is, I don't think you do. You shouldn't have to shell out so much money for that lens. The 24-70, however, that's a different story. But because this lens does everything I want it to, and because it's a wide angle, you don't need to have a 2.8 aperture for this type of lens. I mean, that's just my opinion, but especially for gimbal shots, especially for the type of gimbal shots that I shoot, you don't need that for this type of focal length. Now let's have a look at the lens itself. As I zoom in and out going from 16-35, you'll notice that the zoom does not extrude, or the lens I should say, does not extrude too much. Also, the zoom ring and the focus ring is extremely smooth. Even though I've had this thing for 6+ years, it's still extremely smooth. No clicking or clanking, no jitterness in the zoom. It just stays so smooth. So you're getting a very nice lens at a decent price, and I've had it for such a long time, and I plan on keeping this lens for at least another 5 years. This is such a great lens to have. It's durable, it's efficient, decent on the price. I mean, it could be a little bit cheaper, let's be honest, but honestly, because of how well this thing was made, I did not feel bad for spending the amount of money that I did. So if you're interested in the Zeiss 16 to 35mm lens, check out the link down below. I highly recommend it for those beautiful landscape scenic shots and those tracking shots. How many times did I say that in this video already? But this is the lens to get, especially if you're first starting out with gimbals or with filmmaking in general. This is a great basic lens to have. All right, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in another video. Peace.